Misconceptions about narcolepsy. Have you ever seen a movie or a TV show where there has been a person with narcolepsy who has been portrayed as the stereotypical person falling asleep during a conversation out in public, and the big one, seeing them collapse? Well, I have a big issue with this because there is more to narcolepsy than that. I know for me, I don't fall asleep like the stereotypical um, narcolepsy person portrayed on movies and in TV shows. So I know for me, when I first got diagnosed with narcolepsy, I felt like a fraud. I thought, how can I have narcolepsy when, what's happening on TV isn't happening to me? I mustn't have narcolepsy. There are varying degrees of how narcolepsy affects people, and you know, it's hard to put people into that box. So, it's a very simplified version of narcolepsy. I know the misconception is when people see how it's portrayed in media, they think, well, that's all narcolepsy is, right? You just fall asleep at inopportune moments and you collapse. No, no. I wish it was just that, but it's not. There's so much more to it. Um, Gosh, there's another misconception as well that a person with narcolepsy shouldn't have any issues sleeping, but it couldn't be any further from the truth. There are people out there with narcolepsy who also have insomnia. I'm one of them. I find it extremely difficult, especially at night, to fall asleep. I know I wake up quite a lot during my sleep as well. And also another thing is, you're not always at that cusp of falling asleep all of the time. So you have good days, you have bad days, you have good hours and bad hours. The unpredictability of it is something that is difficult for people without narcolepsy to understand. An example is, for me, I wasn't falling asleep all the time like the stereotypical narcoleptic person. A lot of reasons for that could be down to me trying to fight through it, or putting on what I would assume would be an awake face. It's really painful to do that, but I know it's something that I've had to untrain myself with. Other reasons can be for the varying degrees of lack of hypercretin in the brain. As I've explained in a previous video, there are people that can produce a little bit of hypercretin in the brain, which is responsible for getting the brain to wake up, go to sleep in a reasonable manner. Some people don't create it, whether that's because the pathways are damaged, or their particular brain can't produce it for whatever reason. So there's varying degrees. So yeah, I found that really difficult when I first got diagnosed, because I only had knowledge of the stereotypical narcoleptic that is portrayed in the media, and I thought, I can't have this thing because I'm not falling down all the time, and so yeah, a lot of the time, friends and family can get a little frustrated, or misunderstand, because what they're seeing on TV isn't always happening with you. Now, there are a lot of other social impacts I wanted to talk about and relationship related stuff. So, a person with narcolepsy, I've spoken to a few and I experienced this myself, will isolate themselves, especially when they're sleepy, because they're really irritable. Like I've said before, you are so tired that you can't think properly. Therefore, you you find it really hard to emotionally regulate, and you associate that side of yourself with someone who is unpalatable, to the public or to friends and family. So a lot of times you will lock yourself away in your room so that you don't have an emotional outburst. You will wait till everyone in the house has either left or is no longer, in the part of the house that you want to inhabit, because your fear is that you might have an emotional explosion when trying to interact with them. And you get really down on yourself about it, especially if you don't know it's narcolepsy causing it. You think that you're mentally unhinged. So, to try and stop that from happening and to try and stop misunderstandings and people being hurt, you will isolate yourself in those times. You'll also isolate yourself in those times if the people around you don't understand that this is happening because you're tired. They'll take it personally. They might not want to be around you, or they think you're actually a bad person. So, yeah, trying to hide that, trying to be a pleasant person 100% of the time. You'll only show yourself when you are awake enough to control those things. So that can be really isolating. Another thing with relationships, I know that this has been my experience. Whenever some contentious conversations have happened between me and a partner or a family member or a friend, and I haven't been able to control my reactions, in those times I've literally walked away, or I've closed the door on someone. That's not because I'm angry with them, and I'm not angry with them because they wanted to talk to me about something. It's because I can't react properly, and I'm actually trying to save this person. I'm trying to save myself as well from making a fool of myself, from saying something I don't really mean, something hurtful. That's been something I've struggled with. I know people who have been in my life in the past would attest to this, and they probably didn't know that I was trying to protect everyone involved by walking away, and also because I was scared. No one wants to be that person that has to say every time they're tired or a heated argument is about to ensue. No one wants to be that person that has to say, wait, we have to stop this. We're making headway on this conversation, but we have to stop this because I'm either going to have a cataplexy attack, or I'm going to say something that that might be hurtful. No one wants to be that guy, and I don't think that is something that a lot of people would be able to have a functional relationship with you if they had to experience the interruption all the time, or sometimes some conversations just having to be ended, and no reconciliation is able to be established after that. So yeah, no one wants to be that guy. So that's really difficult, and really difficult if you don't know why that's happening, and difficult for the other people involved as well to understand that this is something that you're dealing with, and it's something that you can't control. So a lot of the times people just end up feeling hurt and abandoned, and that's really sad for everyone involved. It's not intentional. It's definitely not intentional. But it's like, what is the alternative? If the people around you are unable to understand that or to weather that by, giving you space and giving time, and having conversations and fights cut short, I can imagine that would be really, really frustrating. And so that's one thing that I've definitely struggled with in all of my relationships, personal or interpersonal. Yeah, it's becomes very isolating, something that's really hard to deal with, and to navigate properly. Also, due to being tired at inopportune moments, having to cancel dates, cancel work, because you can't really tell when you're going to be sleepy, and that's really hard to maintain relationships because you can't be reliable. I mean, who wants an unreliable person? A lot of the times you will commit to things that you actually can't uphold. So you eventually just stop committing to anything because you don't want to be disappointed. You don't want to disappoint yourself, and you don't want to disappoint others. So yeah, it's a tough one. It's tough to set up ways to handle conflict and to navigate around your unreliability and your strong emotional outbursts when you're tired. This isn't to say that a person with narcolepsy is just an asshole all of the time. I know for me, because I tried so hard to hide it, these kinds of situations would happen rarely. Maybe once a year, or maybe once every couple of years, maybe on weeks where my symptoms were completely just unmanageable. So, I'm pretty sure it was seen as something that, he's only like this sometimes. But I know that it's probably associated with the bad side of me, and that's the way I termed it as well. Is that this tired, moody, avoidant side of me is the bad side of me. It's the side of me I don't want anyone to see, the side of me that I don't like. And when it finally does come out, it can be really, really shocking for those around you and really hurtful. And yeah, it sucks. Another thing that isn't widely spoken about is, especially for people with narcolepsy type 1, with the cataplexy, which is the paralysis of certain muscles in the body, sex can be quite difficult because, some people experience that paralysis during sex. So, partners can think that there's something wrong with them, or you're not attracted to them, or it's frustrating to them because, their needs aren't able to be met, or you've had to cut an interaction short. That can be really frustrating. And it creates a bit of fear for the person with narcolepsy type 1 as well, because, there's always a chance that that could happen. So I know for me that there have been periods in my life where I have just avoided the subject altogether, or the possibility. And I'm sure I've had partners who have felt that I wasn't attracted to them. But the funny thing is that I was, and that positive emotion was what was causing it. So it's almost like you were too attractive to me that that I can't perform. So it's really, really strange. I know that there are times where I've avoided even having a cuddle, or spending too much time with positive emotions, or loving feelings, because the paralysis would happen, or I'd feel like it would get me to a point where I couldn't get up, whether if we were sitting on the couch or in bed, and then I would start beating myself up because I would tell myself, oh, I'm lazy because I've over enjoyed this, so I've associated it with something bad, which that sucks as well. So yeah, this condition is more than just falling asleep at inopportune moments and falling down on the ground like what you see in movies and TV shows. So hopefully that was a little bit more insightful. Again, like all of my videos, I didn't plan this one out. I find that I'm able to tackle subjects a lot easier if I don't script it. The only downfall is that I might not explain it properly, or I might go into a rant, so apologies if that has happened in any of these videos.